Kofi stood on the dusty veranda, staring at the two woven suitcases by his feet. The sun had begun to dip behind the trees, casting long shadows across the red clay yard. In front of him, the door to his home, once warm and wide open, was now firmly shut, locked from the inside. Behind that wooden door was Amma, the woman he had married with his whole heart, the same woman who was now dancing, laughing, and pouring drinks with strangers. She'd won the national lottery, 8 million Ghanaian cedis. Just like that, everything changed. Kofi hadn't lied. He hadn't cheated. He had loved Amma since the day they met near the fish stalls in Cape Coast. He used to help her carry baskets of kenki and smoked tilapia from her mother's stall to the customers. She smiled like no one else. That smile used to be his peace, but now money had taken his place. He knocked gently, hoping she might at least look him in the eye. She didn't. Through the window, he saw her. Amma glanced at him for half a second, then turned and walked away without a word. He sat down on one of the suitcases. His shirt clung to his back from the heat and stress. He felt like the earth had opened up and swallowed him in silence. Just days ago, they were laughing about silly things, like who made the worst jollof or how loud Amma snored when she slept. Sure, they argued. What couple didn't? But none of it ever felt serious. Then she hit the jackpot. The numbers on the TV matched hers and she screamed like she was on fire. From that moment, Amma changed, not slowly, fast, like a storm sweeping in from the Atlantic out of nowhere. One day she was his wife. The next she was buying designer bags and driving a new Mercedes she barely knew how to handle. Kofi couldn't recognize her anymore. Her heart felt like it belonged to someone else, someone with diamonds in her ears and bodyguards at her door. And it wasn't just her. Her mother, Ya Asantewa, who had never liked Kofi, now acted like she had won the money herself. That woman always said Kofi was beneath their family, that he had no land, no name, and no future. Even on their wedding day, she forced him to sign a marriage agreement, a kind of traditional prenup, to protect the family's wealth. Kofi signed it because he didn't care about money. He cared about Amma. He married her for her smile, her spirit, the way she hummed while cooking. But that very same agreement might now be the thing that saves him. After an hour sitting in the fading heat, he called Kwame, his closest friend since they were boys chasing goats in the village. Kwame, now a legal advisor in Accra, didn't even let him finish the story. "She kicked me out, Kwame," Kofi said, his voice cracking like dry bark. "I'm coming," Kwame replied. Kwame arrived before the sky turned black. Without asking many questions, he helped load Kofi's suitcases into the car. The whole ride to Kwame's place was quiet, except for the soft hum of the old radio and the occasional bump in the road. That night, Kofi told him everything, from the lottery win, to the sudden silence, to the locked door. Kwame listened closely, arms crossed, thinking hard. Then he said something that made Kofi sit up. "You remember that agreement her mother made you sign?" Kwame asked. "Of course," Kofi replied, "the one to protect her family's money." "Well," Kwame said, a slow smile spreading, "there's a line in there. It says any wealth gained during the union must be shared. That includes winnings from games of chance. That money? It belongs to both of you." Kofi blinked. "You're sure?" "I read that paper myself, my brother. We can fight this." And just like that, hope returned to his chest. Not because he wanted the money, but because he deserved not to be thrown away like a broken stool. Kwame began building the case the very next morning. Meanwhile, Kofi tried to stay calm. He had loved Amma through everything. When her father died, when she lost her job, even when her brother was arrested for theft. He was her rock, and now she acted like he was a stranger, begging for scraps. The days that followed were not easy. Amma's mother showed up at Kwame's office wearing kente cloth so fine it could blind you in sunlight. Her voice, sharp as a machete, spat insults and warnings. "You think you can take from us?" she hissed. "Walk away, or this will get very ugly." But Kofi stood firm, calm, quiet, unmoved. "This is not about taking," he said. "It's about what's fair." Ya Asantewa's face tightened like old leather. "You were nothing before my daughter. You'll be nothing again." Kwame stood then. "Let the courts decide. We're not afraid of the law. She stormed out, slamming the door so hard a photo fell off the wall. That's when the real war began. Ama and her family emptied their shared bank account. Every pesewa gone. Kofi had no money left for food or even transport, and it didn't stop there. A job offer he had just received from a tech firm in Kumasi was pulled without explanation. When he asked why, they said something came up in the background check. Soon after, a knock at the door. A legal envelope. Inside, an accusation. A restraining order. Claimed he had been threatening and unstable. All lies. All meant to make him look dangerous. Kofi couldn't believe it. "How am I supposed to win against all this?" he asked, pacing the floor of Kwame's apartment. "You win," Kwame said, "by being smarter. Watch this." Kwame sent an email to a journalist from Takoradi who covered social justice stories. The next day, Kofi's story hit the headlines. Husband kicked out after wife wins lottery, a fight for dignity. The article struck a nerve. People started talking, on the radio, online, in shop bars and salons. Many stood with Kofi. They knew this kind of betrayal. Money-changing hearts wasn't new, but now it had a face, a name. Ama tried to clean her image, but it was too late. The court moved quickly. Kwame presented the agreement, showed the clause, proved that the money came during their union. Ama claimed it was her personal blessing. The judge didn't agree. The ruling came like the first rain after a long dry season. Half of the winnings, 4 million cedis, would go to Kofi. When the judge said it, Kofi felt like he was dreaming. He had arrived in court with nothing but his truth. He walked out with his dignity. Winning in court felt like a huge relief for Kofi. Half of the lottery money, 4 million cedis, was now his. He had something to build with again, a chance to start over. So he found a quiet place outside of town, a small, peaceful condo with tall trees, singing birds, and neighbors who minded their business. For the first time in months, Kofi had peace, at least for a little while. But deep down, he knew Ama and her family wouldn't let things rest. That win had bruised their pride, especially her mother, Ya Asantawa. That woman didn't lose quietly. The very next morning, Kofi got a text from an unknown number. It read, "Enjoy the money while you can. This isn't over." He showed it to Kwame, who shrugged and said, "They're still stuck in their anger. Just be ready." And Kwame was right. It didn't take long before Ama made her next move. She went digging through her past and brought back someone Kofi had only heard about in passing, her ex-boyfriend Kojo. The kind of man always in some kind of trouble, fighting in bars, borrowing money he never returned. Even Ama's own mother once called him a mistake, but now they needed him. Kojo started whispering lies. He told anyone who'd listen that Kofi had used Ama for her money, that he married her with a plan to take everything from the start. He even claimed Kofi had been unfaithful, that he had other women, other lives. Lies, every word. Some people believed him, especially those who didn't know Kofi well. Posts started popping up on social media, strangers calling him a thief, a manipulator, even a devil in a nice shirt. People from the neighborhood began giving him strange looks. Then things got worse. Kojo spread a rumor that Kofi kept millions in cash hidden inside his new condo, the kind of lie that attracts the wrong kind of attention. One evening after shopping for groceries, Kofi noticed two men standing outside his building, not talking, just watching. One had his hands buried deep in his pockets. The other kept adjusting something at his waist. Kofi didn't say a word, just kept walking, eyes alert. That night, he told Kwame what had happened. "You need to be careful," Kwame said. "These people aren't just angry, they're dangerous." Kofi didn't want to be paranoid, but he wasn't stupid either. So he called a financial advisor and moved his money into secure investments. No cash lying around. Then he called a security consultant, had cameras installed around the building, motion sensors, backup batteries, reinforced locks on every door. He didn't want to live in fear, but he wasn't going to be caught off guard. Just when he thought things might quiet down, it happened. He was walking to his car, bags in hand, when three men stepped into his path. They didn't touch him, but they blocked his way. "Nice ride," one said with a smirk. "You must be doing real well these days," another added. Kofi stood firm. "If this is about money, you're wasting your time." The third man, clearly the leader, leaned in a bit closer. Kojo says you got millions stacked under your bed. Maybe you should share a little. Kofi looked him dead in the eye, calm, unshaken. Tell Kojo he's wrong, and tell him I'm not scared. The three men stood there for a second. Then one by one, they backed off.
Kofi drove home in silence. When he got there, he checked every camera, made sure nothing was missing. Then he added more protection. A few days later, he got a call from the local police. They were investigating Kojo and a few of his associates for illegal activities. Someone had reported them. Kofi didn't know who, maybe a neighbor, maybe someone from Kwame's network. But he wasn't surprised. Trouble always finds people like Kojo. It was just a matter of time. Then, something completely unexpected happened. Amma showed up at his door. It was just past sunset. The sky was painted orange and purple. Kofi was standing on his balcony, watching the city lights flicker on when he heard a knock. He opened the door, and there she was. Amma. She looked nothing like the woman who once laughed with wine in her hand. Her eyes were tired. Her face carried a quiet sadness he hadn't seen before. She was dressed simply. No flashy jewelry, no makeup. Just her. "Kofi," she said, her voice soft. "Can I come in?" He paused, then nodded, but only let her into the living room. She looked around. This place is calm, peaceful. He didn't answer. She sat on the edge of the couch, hands in her lap. "I made a lot of mistakes," she said. "I let the money change me. I let my mother tell me how to live. I treated you badly." Kofi crossed his arms. "So why are you here now?" She looked up, eyes glossy with tears. "Because I miss what we had. Because I thought money would fix everything. But I was wrong. The money's almost gone. I made some bad choices, bad deals. I didn't know what I was doing." Kofi's chest felt heavy, but not with love. With truth. He realized then she wasn't here for him. She was here for safety, for help. "You're not here because you love me," he said quietly. "You're here because you're scared." Amma looked down. "I didn't mean for any of this. I stood by you when we had nothing. I never asked for more than honesty. But when you got money, you threw me out like I was nothing." She reached for his hand. He pulled away. "We can't fix this," he said. "Because you already broke it." Amma sat there, stunned. He walked to the door and opened it. "I hope you find peace," he said. "But not here. Not with me." She left, didn't say a word. That night, Kofi slept like a baby, the best sleep he'd had in months. The days after Amma's visit felt strangely quiet for Kofi. The storm had passed, but instead of feeling joy or revenge, he just felt calm. Not empty, just steady. His heart no longer raced. His mind wasn't spinning. And for once, the silence in his home wasn't painful. It was peaceful. Amma never came back. No more knocks, no more texts, no more drama. She had said her piece and Kofi had made his choice. Now it was time to move forward. He began using the money wisely. Not like someone who hit the jackpot, but like someone who had worked years to earn it. He met with his financial advisor once a week. No big houses, no luxury cars, just safe investments. He bought a small printing business in town that was struggling and helped it get back on its feet. Hired local workers, even gave his cousin a job. He also bought a little plot of land for his parents back in the village. Built them a new home with a proper roof, running water and solar lights. His mother cried the first time she stepped into the kitchen. Said it was more than she ever dreamed of. And he didn't stop there. Every month, he sent money to a community shelter that helped single mothers and children who had nowhere to go. No one knew the money came from him. He didn't want credit. He just wanted to do something good, something real. Kofi had no need to prove anything. He didn't want to show off. He just wanted to live honestly, quietly. He started reading more, taking walks in the evening, swimming on weekends. Even started writing little poems again, something he hadn't done since college. Sometimes about the past. Sometimes just about how the rain smelled after it hit the dry ground. Life wasn't perfect, but it was his. And slowly, the pain from Amma's betrayal faded. It didn't vanish overnight, but it stopped controlling his thoughts. He didn't wake up angry. He didn't fall asleep wondering what went wrong. He was healing, not all at once, but piece by piece. Then one evening, something simple happened. Something that stayed with him. He was sitting on a bench at the park near his condo. The sun was setting low, casting golden light across the trees. The air was cool, the kind of breeze that makes you close your eyes for a second and just breathe. A little boy was running with a kite, laughing as it tugged and twisted in the air. A woman followed behind him, cheering him on, calling his name. "Kwesi, be careful." She smiled the kind of smile that wasn't forced, soft and honest.
Kofi watched quietly, his mind half lost in thought. After a while, the woman noticed him watching. She smiled and gave a small wave. He nodded back. Later, as they passed by his bench on the way out, she stopped. "Hi," she said. "Sorry if we were too loud." Kofi shook his head. "No, it was nice hearing laughter." She laughed a little. "This is my nephew. He's full of energy. My name's Nia." "I'm Kofi," he said. They talked for a bit. Just small things. Weather, books, the boy's kite. Nothing deep, nothing heavy. But it felt easy, natural. She didn't know about his past. Didn't know about the court case, the drama, the headlines. She just saw him for who he was now, and that meant more than she'd ever know. That night, Kofi thought about how much had changed, about how life had torn everything apart, only to offer him something new in return. He didn't know if he'd ever fall in love again. He wasn't rushing, but for the first time in a long time, he felt open to the idea. Meanwhile, far across the city, Amma sat alone. She still lived in the house she bought right after the lottery win. The floors were polished, the walls were covered in art, but the silence inside was heavy, not peaceful, just empty. Her bank account was nearly dry. The flashy friends who once called her every weekend? Gone. Kojo had disappeared the moment things got hard. Her mother still blamed Kofi for everything, but even she had stopped visiting. Amma found an old photo the other day, one of her and Kofi standing in the rain, both laughing under a broken umbrella. She looked young, happy, sure of everything. Tears rolled down her cheeks as she whispered, "I lost the best thing I ever had." But it was too late. That door had closed. Kofi had found something more valuable than any lottery ticket. He had found peace. He had found clarity. He had found himself again. And maybe, just maybe, he had found the start of something new. If Kofi's story moved you, the next one will shake you. No fluff, just raw, real, and unforgettable. Don't miss it. Like, share, and subscribe to the channel.